A wave of crypto regulation is quietly being pushed, and the bills that they're using to pass could trigger the next bull run and shut the door forever. We have a golden window of opportunity. And while everybody's getting drunk, I gotta come to the office and make this video because it's way too important. Happy 4th of July. And by the way, you cannot find satisfaction in alcohol. It doesn't work. So there's this special event that just got announced yesterday called Crypto Week, which will be happening on July 14th to 18th, where the US government will vote on 3 major crypto bills: the Clarity Act, the Anti-CBDC Act, and the Genius Act. And in this video, we're going to be talking about how these acts could affect the price of cryptocurrency. And if you're new here, my name is Alex, and I've been in crypto for 8 years, managed millions of dollars, and I've made this crypto channel to create a crypto movement that recreates the entire future. And I thank you for being a part of that. Man, I really don't believe it's a coincidence that Crypto Week is coming in 10 days. We know that Trump is confirming the tariffs on July 9th. He has said from his mouth that he will not extend this tariff policy. We just had the one big beautiful bill, which is basically like a debt stimulus of all this liquidity coming into the market. Bitcoin is at all-time high, and the S&P 500 is in price discovery, meaning it broke past all-time high. I don't think people really understand what price discovery means. As you can see right here, the S&P 500 broke past all-time high, and there's no ceiling. The buyers and sellers are constantly trying to find out what the fair price is, and usually, again, there's no ceiling. It just keeps going. We see this with the biggest risk on asset, and we know that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are like leverage versions of the S&P 500. They're basically kind of an extension. They all follow very similar price trajectory. And right now, I do see a lot of upside, and there's not that much resistance to slow it down. It's literally uncharted territory. This is Bitcoin's price, and as you can see, it's been fighting all-time high, and I would not be surprised if we break past all-time high as we get regulatory clarity. In my personal opinion, when it comes to regulation, it's probably the most important factor for cryptocurrency projects. I want you to think about all these cryptocurrency projects that don't want to innovate, they don't want to create their project, or they don't want to make this feature because they don't know if they're going to get sued by the government. So we have Crypto Week in 10 days, and they're going to be talking about these 3 cryptocurrency bills, which is crazy because these bills have bipartisan support, basically meaning they have support from the Republicans and the Democrats. And the whole purpose is to bring regulatory clarity because there's other countries that are adopting crypto way faster than us, and they want to compete. This is not a coincidence. We literally just had the creation of something called X stocks that launched only in Europe, which is basically a tokenized version of stocks. You can literally take a stock like Apple and you can buy it on the blockchain. And the crazy part about it is that we can buy them 24/7, 7 days a week, which right now you cannot do on the stock exchange. Now, again, the reason why I believe they're pushing this crypto week and they're trying to get these bills through is because there's innovation in other parts of the world that are expediting the process for crypto adoption, and America is slow. This was launched by Kraken, Bybit, and Robinhood. Robinhood is the #1 biggest stock trading app in America, and they're launching their services only in Europe. So we need regulation in crypto. If this does happen, it can get insane. We will see so much innovation in crypto. We will see so much money flooding in. And I believe that will trigger the official altcoin season. So please pay attention and start putting in work, looking at altcoins, doing whatever it takes to really understand this market. Because if you look at the S&P 500, which is considered a risk-on asset, and if we look at Bitcoin, which is obviously a risk-on asset, we look at their entire history in the month of July, every single month of July, what was their return at the end of the month and average it out, you can see that July is a very bullish month. We have a 63.1% chance of having a bullish month. So right now we have all of this crypto regulation, the tariff policies. I mean, I don't know what's going on. It is absolutely ridiculous. And July is historically a very bullish month. The money-making opportunity is right in front of you on a table, spread out. You need to pay attention. So let's go over the 3 bills that are going to be talked about in Crypto Week. These are really important, again, for crypto. I can't stress it enough because we need regulatory clarity. So the first one is the Clarity Act. This gives the digital assets clear definition and separates which tokens are securities versus commodities, so builders and investors can finally know the rules. The reason a lot of people haven't been building, especially these big companies with billions of dollars, is because they don't know what's going on. So now they will officially know what's going on, and it will increase the innovation in America. The second thing is the Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act, which blocks U.S. government from creating a central bank digital currency to protect Americans from financial surveillance and control. And obviously, this is really important because we don't want people controlling our money fully. Now, they're probably going to have some other control mechanisms, but who cares? Because it builds confidence in America and gets people to adopt crypto. And number 3, which is the Genius Act. I've talked about this a lot. It's super important. This creates strict rules for stablecoins, requiring full backing and regular audits while allowing trusted companies to issue them under federal oversight. And also, what's really interesting about this is that it actually allows banks to issue stablecoins, which is insane, and I'll talk about that in this video. It's really cool. Now let's briefly go over the exact process of how these bills actually become law. First, they're introduced, then they go through committee review, then they hit the chamber floor for a vote, then they go to other chambers, conference committee, final approval, and then eventually presidential action where he actually signs it into law. Obviously, the specifics are not that important. So where are we at today when it comes to these 3 acts? This is basically where we're at. So what I did is I gave you guys a specific prediction based off an aggressive or, whatever the case is, moderate pace. If we really move fast, right, we could see late August of 2025, these actually become law. Now, if we move at a conservative pace, we could see late September, early October, which is interesting because it really looks like everything that we've been talking about on this channel for the past 2 weeks about the bull run and how it's been super bullish is literally lining up towards the end of the year. So we're really seeing the calm before the storm. Let me say it again. We are really seeing the calm before the storm. If you combine that with yesterday's video, you guys know I don't buy green. If we see a small dip, I'm going hard. I'm buying red. I'm going hard. I'm going to start buying these cryptocurrencies because, again, even the bills, the conservative estimate, meaning the slowest pace, will likely be late September, early October, which lines up perfectly with the end of 2025. Now, all of these timelines really start to get extremely interesting when you realize what's inside of these bills. So I'm going to do a deep dive on the Clarity Act, which I believe is the most important. And in future videos, we're going to do dives on the other bills because, bro, I think this might be the focal point of my research moving forward. So first things first, what is this Clarity Act that could be happening beginning of August or end of, around the year, end of the year, or whatever the case is? Because again, these are just estimates. Don't freak out. It's not exact dates. Nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. Nobody can predict the future, but these are estimates. So the conservative estimates are saying kind of like October, August, around that period, right? What does it mean? So this is short for Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act. I just want to cover before we go into this. This might be the most significant, act. The bill might be the craziest thing we've ever experienced for cryptocurrency. So I really need you guys to pay attention because this creates the first clear legal framework for how digital assets are regulated in the United States. Answering the question, is this a security or a commodity? Super important. Not just super important. It's probably the most important. The most important factor. You need to comprehend this because if it's a commodity, it'll be regulated in a certain way. And if the token is a security, it'll be regulated in another way. And if it's a security, it'll be regulated out of existence and it'll take away all innovation. But if it's a commodity, there will be a lot more freedom. So obviously all these coins are trying to become commodities. So this act gives exclusive jurisdiction to the CFTC, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, over digital commodities like Bitcoin and Ethereum. This allows the SEC to oversee crypto securities. So it's like 2 regulatory bodies and the coins are going to be classified, and depending on the classification, they're going to go in this direction or that direction. So let's talk about briefly what's the difference between a commodity and a security. So a commodity is considered a decentralized asset with no central issuer and no expectation of profit from centralized team. So basically, it's like a decentralized coin where they don't control it, right? And this is super important. Listen to what I'm saying, super important. Now, let's talk about a security. So the team expects returns, right? As you can see right here, they raise money from the public, has a centralized development team, promises ROI for profit sharing. It's more like a stock than an actual commodity, right? In the traditional sense, a commodity is like gold and a stock is a security, right? So basically the point is, and I want you to catch what I'm saying. In the Clarity Act, there is no definition of what decentralized means. So we don't know what decentralized means. And the best thing we could look at is the current cases or the current lawsuits that basically happened that clearly defined what a commodity is. This gives America a lot of control, meaning all of these coins are going to be like, oh, am I a commodity or not? And basically the courts are going to decide if it's a commodity or a security. And it will give some clarity. And this is extremely important to finding altcoins, because if the altcoin you have turns out to be a security, it will likely be delisted from websites. It would be delisted from many centralized and decentralized exchanges, and it will not be able to be purchased in America. In America, you will not be able to buy the coin that you're holding if it's classified as a security. This is insane. So here's a hypothetical of what's going to happen for every single cryptocurrency if it wants to get sold in America, which has the most liquidity out of anything in the world. And they pretty much have the world reserve currency on lockdown. We're talking about the biggest capital flows is in America, and every single cryptocurrency, are you catching what I'm saying? Every single cryptocurrency is going to be subjected to this. Number one, they're going to have to project if they're a digital commodity or not. They're going to basically be like, I have to file a notice with the SEC and CFTC claiming what I want to claim. Am I security or not? Then there's going to be a 60-day window where the SEC has 60 days to object to the claim. Now, if they don't object, the token is treated as a commodity and regulated by the CFTC, which is very light regulations, including you could be listed on a centralized exchange. You could be put on a centralized, guys, my goodness. And if they object, the token will likely be classified as a security regulated by the SEC and probably won't be able to be sold in America unless they go through all this regulatory scrutiny, which 90% of these projects will not go through, right? So if challenged, they can go to the court and fight it if they got money, right? But what I see is most likely going to happen is a lot of these coin founders are probably going to abandon their project and create completely new projects based off of the new kind of like decentralized rules. They're going to come up with like decentralized rules, and they're just going to create new projects, probably the same exact thing. I'm telling you, this is going to be a mass delist. Now, I also have some future projections of what's going to happen, how we can make money off of it. This is where it gets really, really, really crazy. Please listen. Now, right now, specifically, coins that are actually classified as commodities, the only ones are Bitcoin, Ethereum, but it was contested by the SEC. I'm pretty sure they're going to win. I believe Ethereum should be a commodity. Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum Classic. So all these other coins, every single one will likely be delisted from centralized exchanges or not be able to be purchased on decentralized exchanges because they're going to ban the websites. Oh my goodness. This is insane. So it doesn't mean you can't make money. It's actually the opposite. We can use this framework to figure out the coins that are truly commodities, and we can predict where the capital is going to flow, and that's what I want to do in this video. So let's go over some projections. Don't take this too serious because I'm going to get more accurate with my projections over time. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as we go through this. But basically, I don't know if you guys knew this. There was a recent piece of news that came out where Aerodrome Finance, the decentralized exchange I've been talking about for like 2 years, Aerodrome Finance, right? Which has the most liquidity. We've been talking about it for a while. They're just like dominating everybody. They're the main liquidity hub on Base, which I've been talking about Base for like 2 years, right? Base is connected to Coinbase, right? And then we have Circle that just went public with an IPO, and it was like the greatest IPO launch in a very long time. And the IPO of Circle and Coinbase, they're the only two publicly traded companies in the crypto. Are you putting it, the amount of credibility when it comes to Coinbase, Circle, Base, and Aerodrome, like that right there, it really seems like the conglomerate. It really seems like the American powerhouse. They're market making these four entities. Now, the crazy part about it, like I'm trying to explain to you guys, is that recently, like a week ago, less than a week ago, Aerodrome officially announced that they will be the back-end engine of Coinbase. So if you put 2 and 2 together, we could have a hypothetical situation. The coins that are actually commodities are traded on the Coinbase app, coinbase.com, and then the non-commodities that are kind of like in this regulatory gray area, they're trying to figure out if they're commodities or not, are traded on Aerodrome base. I wonder why they did that. There's an official partnership between Aerodrome and Coinbase. It's because Aerodrome is a decentralized exchange and could be regulated with a non-commodity SEC asset. So we have commodities on a centralized exchange, and then non-commodities could be offloaded to Aerodrome as a front end on Aerodrome. Now, there's a lot of things that could be, taken into consideration for this. First things first, Aerodrome can be delisting coins. Aerodrome can now have a process to where you can't launch on Aerodrome unless you meet specific criteria, right? Which I think is very likely. Not only that, but Aerodrome will get a lot of liquidity. If you can't access Uniswap, which is likely what's going to happen, if Uniswap doesn't comply, right? What's going to happen is when you type in uniswap.com in America, you're not going to be able to load their website. It's literally going to be blocked. So we could see a situation, and here's my hypothetical, where a lot of liquidity, maybe a massive amount of TVL comes from Uniswap, which by the way, I think Uniswap is maybe like 5 to 10 times bigger than Aerodrome. So all of that money flows into Aerodrome, which we've already seen a trend currently happening already. We've already seen the trend. Guys, when it comes to regulation, I believe USDC, which is Circle is the creator of USDC, Coinbase are the ones that made this happen. They were probably talking to them the most. They're the only publicly traded cryptocurrency companies in America. They're already regulated. Right? So they're buddies. The whole framework was probably created with USDC and Coinbase. Right? So I foresee a situation where a lot of liquidity moves into Aerodrome DEX. And then Aerodrome DEX could, we don't know for sure, delist the tokens that they don't like, right? Because they want to keep these regulatory guidelines in check. They don't want to get sued, right? So they delist the coins that are not considered whatever criteria they have. And then the coins that are in the criteria that they have gets to stay. So we see a lot of liquidity coming into Aerodrome, and then we see winners being selected, right? Winners are being selected on Aerodrome's decentralized exchange. And if we could figure out specifically what that framework looks like, I'm going to put that in my research and only buy the coins that will bypass this regulatory scrutiny that we're currently going through. If you only understood how this could be, I'm not going to lie to you, one of the most important videos I've probably ever made on my YouTube channel ever. This changed the entire research process of my cryptocurrencies, the entire thing. I'm going to be looking for specifically decentralized commodity-like tokens, and I'm also going to be giving you guys frameworks. When I do develop these frameworks, I'm going to break down the frameworks. So this is the hypothetical situation, right? I'm going to break down the frameworks. I'm only going to buy coins that match my framework, that are most likely to bypass this regulation push by the Clarity Act, okay? The Clarity Act comes into play at the end of the year. You've seen that I've been talking about many other things coming at the end of the year. The end of the year looks really, really bullish, right? And I'm going to have a database, and we've already been creating this database. We're probably going to have to remove a lot of coins that don't qualify in our new standard, but we have this database. I've been researching 300 coins, 250 to 300 coins that was carefully selected. The 300 was carefully selected. We weeded them down to like 20 to 30 coins. And then now we're going to look at the regulation, and we're going to weed those down as well. And then when this happens, when it starts to play out, which I really do, it's like you could hear the excitement right now. Like it's going to play out. It's very clear. We're going to be very ahead of the curve. I mean, that's all I got for you guys today. It's 4th of July. I got to go hang out with my family. But it was freaking out while I was making this video. I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to tell you guys. And we'll be making update videos on the 3 bills. We're going to dive extremely deep. This is insane. Thank you guys for being a part of my community. I don't even know what to say anymore. I appreciate you guys. If you like the quality of this content, hit like. If you don't, leave some constructive criticism. Subscribe for more video updates. And like I always say, if you don't get with it, you will get left behind. I hope people watch this video, to be honest with you, because I gotta make the connections for you guys, because a lot of people don't comprehend what I'm saying. If you've been with my channel for a while, you kind of get it. But basically the point is, I want to kind of sum it up for you one more time. Basically the point is, we have the Clarity Act. The Clarity Act is going to basically tell the world which coins are going to be able to be purchased and which ones are not. They're going to regulate some of them out of existence, and some of them are going to stay. Now that clear definition is basically by decentralization. Is this coin decentralized or not? If it is decentralized, then it's going to have a lot more access to be purchased. It can be purchased on the Coinbase app. It's going to be purchased on Aerodrome. It's going to be a lot easier for that coin to be purchased by the world, by the way. If it's not, and they don't want to, actually be a security, if the coin is regulated as an actual security, they're going to have to comply to the SEC rules. Now, those rules are very, very strict. It's like a stock. So chances are those projects are not going to do that. They're either going to abandon the project or the project's going to die. Most of them don't even have the capital to do that. So it's going to kill a lot of coins. And it's not only going to kill a lot of coins, it's going to kill a lot of decentralized exchanges and centralized exchanges. And it really, really looks like the only one that's going to work is Aerodrome on the base layer 2 and Ethereum. Ethereum is probably going to be recognized as a commodity, right? Which is the layer 1. The layer 2 that's stacked on top of it is Base. Base doesn't have a coin. Now you see why they didn't launch a coin. They didn't launch a coin because they don't want the layer 2 to be regulated, right? Now the biggest decentralized exchange, which is called the liquidity layer on Base, is called Aerodrome Finance. Now, the thing is, Aerodrome has been beating Uniswap in many metrics for a very long time before this whole regulation thing. They are better. It's very clear. They are better, a lot better, right? So they have just partnered with Coinbase to be the back end of Coinbase. And I think what I'm seeing here is a hybrid regulatory system to where Coinbase is regulated one way and Aerodrome is regulated another way, right? So I see that maybe Aerodrome delists a lot of tokens because they don't want to get sued, and the coins that are not delisted will be basically selected for pumping. That's the best way I can explain it, right? I do see that a lot of softwares, maybe even Uniswap, will literally be regulated out of existence, and in America, you will not be able to buy things on Uniswap. When you load the website, it will literally say it. You've probably seen it before, and you would have to use a VPN. Sure, some people are going to use a VPN. That's fine. But I think the vast majority of people are not going to do that, right? So a lot of liquidity will come from maybe Uniswap DEX and some other DEXs onto Aerodrome Finance, and all of that liquidity will go into the fresh coins that are considered commodities that didn't get delisted. And if it grows enough, then they'll take that commodity coin or whatever the case is, and they're going to put it on Coinbase to give access to more purchasers. So whatever coins is considered a commodity and is truly decentralized is going to pump a lot. A lot. A lot. And we know far ahead of the time. Like we know we have plenty of time to sit here, do our research, develop frameworks, and weed through my massive database. And I'm going to be like, all right, we're done with the video. I love you guys.